Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me for another 5 Easy Step card. Today we're making a floral card and we're using some new items from Simon Says Stamp, part of their In My Heart release. We're using, for my focal point, we're going to be using the Jaunty stem flower. It's a real pretty die. For my home panel, I thought we'd go a little bit outside of the box and use the garden pens. And then for my greeting, we're going to be using a fabulous stamp set called Thanks Mom. I'm not making a Mother's Day card, but I'm going to use the Enjoy. But you could actually use any of the greetings in here and switch it out. I think it would look just as fabulous. There's a coordinating die set that we're going to be using to cut out the beautiful Enjoy here. And then for my background, we're going to be using the Crimped A2 rectangles. But let's jump in and get started with step number 1 and create our beautiful floral focal point. This die set is 2 pieces, very easy to put together. They're not stacking layers, well, with the exception of one flower center, but it's real easy to put together. So I'm going to die cut out. I'm actually going to make 2 sets, but I'll show you how I do one and then we'll create another one. I'm using my Spellbinders Peridot cardstock to cut out the 2 leaves, the 2 stems, and then the flowers and the flower centers I'm going to die cut out with Simon Says Stamp's Lemon Chiffon cardstock. Okay, we'll run these through the die cut machine. My flowers are die cut, and I have to apologize because I am using artificial lighting, so you're going to see some shadows today. We're expecting rain all week long, which I don't mind the rain. I really don't, because it's preparing our ground for some beautiful spring flowers. But it's real dark, and so I have to use my lights today, so I'm sorry about the shadows. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Field ink and my circle detail blending brushes, and all we're going to do is add a little bit of color to the edges of the leaves here. And then I'm also going to add a little color to the top of this leaf and a little bit down the stem. And that's all we're doing here. And then as far as my florals go, I'm going to bring in some Zest ink, and we're going to add a little bit of extra yellow. I think I can use a bigger blending brush for this. Let's see. Yep. And I'm going to go over the edges. And I'll do the same with this one. I'm actually going to add a little color to the flower center also. Now for my flowers, I'm going to go one step further and bring in some of my guava ink. And we're going to add a little bit of pink in the center. Kind of fade out. I'll do the same thing with this one, although I'll fade up with this. So that's all the ink blending we're doing, but we're going to go one step further. And I'm going to bring in my Versamark ink pad. Starting off with my leaves, all I'm going to do is press the edge of the leaves in my ink pad. Now if you have a Versamark pen, you could do the same thing. I'm going to flip it around and add some ink here. And then I'll take it by the stem. I'm going to bring in my gold embossing powder, and I'm just going to dip it in here. I'll do a little tapping with it. So that one is all done. I'm going to put this to the side, and then I'll take this stem and I'm just going to dip it on my ink pad, and we'll dip it in the gold. I just want a little bit of that gold on the edge, so that one's all done. I'm going to do the same thing with my flowers, just going around those edges. We're going to fancy it up, but that's why I think this would make a really great Mother's Day card. I'm going to use my tweezers here, and then we'll dip it in the gold, do a little tapping with it. And then I'll do my last flower here. That one's good to go. Now I want to bring in my heat gun, and then we're going to melt all of these. There's one. We'll melt this one. My Versamark. And then we'll dip it. And then I'll heat emboss this too. Okay. And then we can layer. Layering is going to be really easy. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the base here. That's all you need. And then I can take the stem and bring it to the flower and tack that down. And then we'll add the flower center to this one. And then I will add my flower. And then this will be my focal point. Aren't they gorgeous? So pretty. I'm going to do one more set, so we'll have 2 of each flower. And those will be my focal point. We're going to put these to the side, and now we're going to move on to step number 2 and create our home panel. I mentioned that we're going to be using the fence die. It's actually called the Garden Fence. It's a 2-piece set. I do want to mention too that Simon, part of the new release, has another fence that's very similar. You can connect these together. Let me show you the difference. Okay, this one's longer. Okay, but this one is the fence that has the hinges and the handle, so you can actually attach them if you want. If you make a slim line, I think that would be really pretty. But so this is the garden gate. So you have the hinge and the handle. So they have 2 different fences, which are really nice. This one's layering. I'm going to take the bottom layer and cut it out with some Spellbinders Fog cardstock. It's a real pale gray. I know Simon Says Stamp has a real nice fog that you could use instead also. And then I'm also going to use the picket portions. And I'm going to die cut those out with white cardstock. I always like to use shape dies for home panels because it just adds so much to your cards. Okay, let's go ahead and add some glue and layer these together. And I'm going to layer them all the way. You can go all the way to the left or all the way to the right. I think it leaves a little bit of a gap so you can see the fence behind it, the shadow. You can trim. This will fit the width of an A2 card base. There we go. Let me show you on a card base the width here. This is my card base today, but you can see it fits an A2 this way beautifully. But today we're actually going to make a landscape style card. And that is all there is to my home panel. We're going to put this to the side, and then I'm going to move along to step number 3, and we're going to stamp our greeting. Since we have gold on those flowers, I thought we'd do some heat embossing today. I'm going to use my Versamark ink, and I'm going to stamp the word enjoy and also your day. Kind of making it a everyday card. And again, if you wanted to switch this out for a Mother's Day card, you could. I'm also going to stamp your day. And then I'll bring back my gold embossing powder, and we'll just go over this. It is a beautiful stamp set. This is a CZ design stamp set, and it's just gorgeous. Look how pretty that is. I'm going to use my heat gun and we'll melt this. Lovely. Okay, and then I'm going to take the coordinating die set and I will cut out the enjoy. And you know what the nice thing about this die set is? It'll cut out the pre-sentiments and the sub-sentiments. I love when stamps have mama on there. Die cut out my greeting, and I'll be right back. And that's all there is to my greeting. I'm going to go ahead and put this aside with our home panel and our focal point. I did put foam tape behind here so we have a little bit of dimension, okay? Let's move along to step number 4 and create our background. My background is going to be really simple. I'm bringing in our crimped A2 rectangles. Have a real pretty detailed edge. I'm going to take the second from the largest and I'm going to die cut that out with this is Simon Says Stamps sea glass cardstock. It's very similar to Spellbinder Seaside. Let me show you the difference. Okay. This is Spellbinder Seaside. This does have a more of a teal color. This is more blue, but they're both two beautiful colors. Okay, you could switch out if you wanted. But I'm going to die cut this out. Now I do want to mention, when you die cut out your rectangles in the position of a frame. That way you can use the negative piece on your card bases and it doesn't go to waste. But I'll be right back. This is what those crimped edges look like. Really pretty. Almost looks like pie crust. I just love it. I do want to add a little bit of color to this. I'm going to bring in some Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink. This is Cadet. And I'm just going to add a little shading in the center. Or actually, maybe we should fade up. No, just in the center. I have a cat hair. Actually, I have cat hairs everywhere. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink. And then I'm going to start in the middle. And then we're just going to add a little light shading here. And that is all there is to my background. I'm going to go ahead and take this. We'll put some glue behind here. And I'm going to tack this down to the front of my A2 size card base. Lovely. And then we can add all of our layers. Next, we're going to add our fence. And again, I put foam tape behind it. I just put it down the center. Okay, this is going to go here. Now I put foam tape behind the top of each of my flowers, and then I'm going to add a little glue down the stem. I'm not worried about the leaves. We're going to add our flowers. Okay, so there's my flowers. What I did was put 2 here and then 2 along. So we kind of created a little swag. And then I thought we would put our Enjoy right over the middle of our fence. I thought that would look really pretty. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our greeting here. And you know, I think I'm going to do a little splattering. I'm going to bring in some splatter. Okay, I have a new box. My last box was tossed, and that's okay. That's the best thing about those card kits, is they make great splatter boxes. I'm going to use my Simon Says Stamp Positively Perfect White Splatter Medium. I'm going to use my this is Spellbinder silicone spoon. If you need to stir your splatter, this is a great stirrer. You could even use the spatula end, which would be great. Okay. I'm not going to let the splatter on my spoon go to waste. So I'm going to just use this. Okay, I think that's... I didn't even have to use my paintbrush, I just used my spoon. But I'm going to take my spoon to the sink, rinse it out, and then I'll let this dry, and I'll be right back. Ideally, I think you'd want to let this air dry, but I did use my heat gun to help the drying process, just to speed along the video. But I'm going to take my Enjoy, and again, I'm going to go over the center of this little bouquet. Okay, now it's time for finishing touches. We're going to bring in some Simon Says Stamp Cream Puff embellishments. This is brand new. You see that iridescent tone? You could really see it with the lights. It's really pretty. It's confetti. There's no holes in it. It's gorgeous. I'm going to use my glue, and we're going to add a little bit of sparkle and shine in our background. And that finishes off my card today. Hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration. I thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.